There are moments in life that cut so deeply, so unexpectedly, that at first you don't even register the pain. You just stand there, numb, as the world around you begins to unravel. That was exactly how I felt when I saw the DNA test results. I hadn't been looking for them. I hadn't suspected anything. But the truth doesn't wait for you to be ready. It barges in, cruel and relentless, forcing itself into your hands whether you want it or not. It was a Sunday afternoon, just another ordinary day. I was in the kitchen, tidying up the endless pile of mail and papers Lisa, my wife, always left scattered on the counter. Bills, catalogs, junk mail, nothing unusual, until I saw it, an envelope, torn open and discarded carelessly, as if it held no significance. But it did. The words on the page hit me like a sledgehammer. Paternity test results. Probability of paternity, 0%. My hands trembled as I reread it, over and over. My stomach twisted into knots, so tight I thought I would be sick. 0%. I gripped the counter for support, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My son, my 9-year-old son, wasn't mine. The floor beneath me seemed to vanish. For nearly a decade, I had been a father. I had held him through fevers, taught him how to ride a bike, tucked him in at night with a kiss on his forehead. I had given him everything. My love, my time, my life. And now, a single piece of paper had turned it all into a lie. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to steady myself, but all I could see was Lisa's face, smiling, laughing, telling me she loved me. Had she known all along? Had she carried this secret? Looking me in the eyes every single day, pretending? She hadn't told me. She had taken this test, opened the results, and chosen to keep them from me. Rage boiled in my chest, spreading like wildfire through my veins. She thought she had a choice. She thought she could control this. She had no idea what was coming. For days, I said nothing. I watched her carefully, really watched her, not as my wife, but as a stranger, a woman I no longer recognized. And once I saw her through that lens, I couldn't unsee it. The way she smirked at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The sigh of annoyance when I asked her for help. The forced concern in her eyes when she kissed me goodnight. Pretending. How long had she known? Since the beginning? Had she looked at me for 9 years, knowing I was raising another man's child? I wanted to scream. Instead, I started digging. What I found made my blood run cold. That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the warmth of the woman beside me. The woman I had shared a life with, a home with for years. But every breath she took now felt like a betrayal. Every shift in the sheets was a reminder of the secret she was keeping. And down the hall, the boy I had loved as my own slept peacefully, unaware that his entire world, our entire world, was built on a lie. It wasn't his fault. None of this was his fault. But Lisa had stolen something from me. Something I could never get back. I needed proof. I needed to hear her admit it. So I set a trap. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Lisa thought it was just another day. I waited for her to leave for a supposed lunch meeting, which by now I doubted had ever been real. The moment she was gone, I grabbed her laptop and phone. The password? Our wedding anniversary. The irony almost made me laugh. Within minutes, I had access to everything. Emails, text messages, bank transactions. And then I found it. A thread of emails. 11 years old. A name I didn't recognize at first. Derek. They had met at a conference. 2 months before she got pregnant. The messages started off professional, then flirty, then explicit. And then 2 weeks before she told me she was expecting, she wrote, "What if it's yours?" His response was immediate. "You're married. Not my problem." My fingers gripped the edge of the desk. So tightly, I thought my bones might break. I could hardly process what I was reading. She had known. From the very beginning, she had known. And yet, she had let me live in ignorance, convincing me that the boy was mine. As I scrolled through the messages, a sickening realization settled over me. She had never told Derek the truth. He had been out there, living his life freely, completely unaware, or maybe he had known and simply hadn't cared. That's when it hit me. She had trapped me. She had seen the kind of man I was, loyal, devoted, someone who would never abandon his family. And she had made a decision, a calculated choice. She had let me raise another man's child. She had looked me in the eyes every single day and lied without hesitation. My hands trembled as I shut the laptop. She had stolen my life. And now, I was going to take everything from her. That evening, I went about my usual routine. Cooking dinner, setting the table, pouring her a glass of wine. I played my role one last time. Lisa walked in, smiling brightly, completely oblivious to the storm about to consume her. "Wow," she said, pressing a kiss to my cheek. "What's the occasion?" I smiled back, the effort to keep my composure nearly unbearable. Every muscle in my body screamed for release, but I held it together. I just wanted to do something nice. I said smoothly, "You've been working so hard lately." She exhaled, relieved. She probably thought I had sensed something was off and was trying to fix things. The idea of her finding comfort in my gesture made bile rise in my throat. Halfway through dinner, I set my fork down. "I came across something interesting today." Lisa glanced up, chewing a bite of steak, curiosity flickering in her eyes. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out the DNA test results and placed them on the table between us. With deliberate slowness, I tapped my finger on the bold print. Probability of paternity, 0%. The color drained from her face. I leaned forward, lowering my voice to a whisper. "Who is he, Lisa?" Her hand trembled as she set her wine glass down. "Gary, Who is he?" I repeated, my voice like steel. Tears welled up in her eyes, spilling over as she crumbled before me. "It's not what you think," she choked out. I slammed my fist against the table. The plates rattled. The silverware jumped. "Don't you dare lie to me again." She sobbed into her hands, pathetic and desperate. I let her cry for a moment, then spoke again, my voice cold, measured, deadly. "I know everything." Her breath hitched. "I know about Derek," I continued. "I know you were sleeping with him when you got pregnant. I know you asked him if the baby was his. And I know you decided to let me believe he was mine." Her eyes widened in horror. She gasped, covering her mouth. "Oh my God." "Don't pretend to be shocked." I spat. "You knew. You always knew." She reached for my hand, but I recoiled as if her touch might poison me. "I was scared," she whispered. "I didn't know what to do. And then you were just so happy, Gary." I let out a hollow laugh, the sound bitter and sharp. "You thought, what? That I'd never find out? That I'd just keep playing daddy while you kept lying to my face?" She shook her head, her entire body trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you." I exhaled a humorless chuckle. "Well, congratulations," I said, my voice void of emotion. "You didn't just hurt me. You destroyed me." Lisa dissolved into sobs, pleading now. Please don't do this. We can fix this." I shook my head slowly. "There's no fixing this." Her head snapped up, panic replacing sorrow. And then she saw it, the second envelope. I slid across the table. She hesitated, her hands trembling as she tore it open. As she flipped through the pages, her breath came in short gasps. Divorce papers, already signed. Her hands shook as she skimmed the contents. Bank accounts emptied. The house transferred to my name. Every shared asset gone. I had spent the last week ensuring she would walk away with nothing. Her voice cracked. "You're leaving me?" I stood, grabbing my keys. "No, Lisa," I said, turning to look at her one last time, a cruel smile curling at my lips. "I already left you." She collapsed into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't stay to watch. I walked out the front door without looking back. I drove for hours, my mind a battlefield of fury and heartbreak. And then, finally, I pulled over at a gas station, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. With a deep breath, I reached for my phone. There was only one thing left to do. Derek needed to know. I found his email in the old messages and typed 3 simple words. It's about your son. Then I hit send.